Every cloud begins as a whisper. Every gust, every drifting breeze is part of a language the earth has spoken for billions of years, a soft pulse of motion and temperature, endlessly exchanging energy between sea and sky. If you listen closely, you can almost feel it. The air around you is alive, humming with a hidden order. This is the hidden science of weather, the quiet heartbeat of our planet. Welcome to AstraFlow. Here, science drifts like starlight, and curiosity becomes calm. Tonight, let your thoughts slow down, your breathing find its rhythm, and your mind float through wonder. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're listening from. Are you lying in bed under city lights, or watching the stars from somewhere quiet? Tell me in the comments. It's always peaceful to imagine the AstraFlow community scattered across the world, drifting together through the same sky. And if this calm journey brings you peace, you can gently support AstraFlow by liking this video or subscribing. It helps this little corner of the cosmos keep glowing. Now, let's begin tonight's voyage into the quiet story of the weather and the secret ways it breathes life into our world. Imagine looking up at the sky after a long day. Clouds shifting slowly, sunlight dimming, air cooling with evening's breath. What seems like randomness, a gust here, a cloud there, is in truth a symphony of balance. Every breeze is a conversation between heat and cold, every cloud a note in an endless atmospheric song. The weather is not just what happens to us. It is the pulse of the planet itself. It moves heat from where there is too much to where there is too little. It sculpts deserts and forests, carries seeds and salt across continents, and shapes the rhythm of every life form that depends on it, including you, listening now, breathing in the same air that once circled the poles and the equator. The science of weather is both visible and invisible. The flicker of lightning, the hush before rain, the way air curls around mountains like water around stone. It is complex, yes, full of equations, thermodynamics, pressure gradients, but beneath all of it lies something simpler, something ancient. Flow. Everything in the sky moves toward balance. Warm seeks cool, moisture seeks dryness, energy seeks stillness. And so, tonight, we'll follow this balance. We'll drift through the invisible rivers of air above us, the forming of clouds, the dance of storms, and the calm that always returns. We'll learn not just what weather is, but why it feels so alive. The sky above is not a ceiling. It's an ocean. Its waves are slower, its tides invisible, but its rhythm is everywhere. Even now, as you listen, the air in your room is moving ever so gently in tune with that vast and silent sea above. Let's drift there, together, into the science beneath the sky, into the hidden breath of the world. What if weather is simply earth-breathing? Each gust of wind, each sigh of rain, a slow inhale and exhale that never truly stops. The planet doesn't have lungs, but it has motion, rhythm, and balance. From the moment sunlight warms one side of the earth and shadow cools the other, air begins to move. That movement is breath, global, gentle, eternal. When warm air rises near the equator, it drifts high into the sky, cools and falls again near the poles. This cycle, heat rising, cooling, sinking, is the foundation of weather itself. You might think of it as circulation, or as the world's pulse, but it's also harmony. The Earth is constantly redistributing energy, keeping extremes from growing too wild. Without this motion, half the planet would freeze while the other half would burn. So as you breathe in and out now, imagine that your lungs mirror this planetary rhythm. You inhale warmth, you exhale calm. Like the air rising and falling across the globe, every breeze you feel is a part of this enormous respiration. Air that touches your skin tonight might have once flowed over the Amazon or the Himalayas, or the sea near Antarctica. The same molecules drift through all living things, shared endlessly, flowing through time. Weather then is not chaos, it's communication. Between land and ocean, heat and cold, earth and sky. When clouds build, when rain falls, when the air turns crisp at night, the planet is speaking in movement. We are part of that message. Our bodies too are made to sense and respond, skin prickling before a storm, lungs expanding in cool air, heart slowing as rain begins. So tonight, as you listen, let yourself fall into that rhythm. You don't have to understand every current or pattern, only to feel their balance. The wind outside your window is not random. It's the breath of the earth, passing softly by. And within that breath, everything flows in quiet unity. Above you stretches an ocean without waves, yet it moves with the same grace as any tide. Our atmosphere, a delicate veil of gases, flows, swirls and churns just like the sea. It wraps the planet in invisible motion, connecting mountain to ocean, desert to forest, life to sky. Though we cannot see it, we live beneath its surface every moment of our lives. The air around us is not empty. It has weight, depth, and layers: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, each with its own rhythm and temperature. Down in the troposphere, where we live and breathe, weather is born. It's only a few kilometers thick, yet within it unfold every cloud, every storm, every drop of rain that has ever touched the earth. Above it, the stratosphere rests like a calm sea, thin, steady, and silent, where jet streams glide and ozone shields us from the sun's fire. When sunlight strikes the earth unevenly, some regions heat more than others. The warm air rises, cool air rushes in, and the invisible ocean begins to move. We call this wind, but it is much more. It is circulation, a transfer of life energy, a balancing act that keeps the planet habitable. Just as currents carry nutrients through the sea, these winds carry moisture, warmth, and change. Imagine standing in an open field at dusk. The air brushes against your face, a breeze that has travelled continents to reach you. Somewhere, it picked up the scent of salt and the memory of rain. Somewhere else, it cooled against a glacier's edge. Now it drifts past you, on its way to another horizon. This is the true ocean we live beneath, fluid, immense, eternal. And though we cannot dive into it, we are always swimming in its currents. Every heartbeat, every breath, happens inside this atmospheric sea. The clouds above are its surface waves. The pressure and temperature below are its deep tides. When you look up at the sky, you're not looking away from the earth. You're gazing into its living ocean, vast and unseen. The sky speaks in a language older than words. You can't hear it, but you can feel it. In the stillness before rain, the sharpness of winter wind, the gentle lift of morning warmth. Its vocabulary is built from invisible things: pressure, temperature, and humidity. These are the syllables of the air, shaping every weather pattern that touches our world. Air, though weightless to us, carries meaning. When the sun warms the ground, that warmth rises, thinning the air and lowering its pressure. Nearby, cooler air, heavier, quieter, rushes in to take its place. This simple exchange sets everything into motion. From a soft sea breeze to a sweeping storm, it all begins with a difference, a whisper of imbalance that nature moves to smooth. Pressure is the unseen storyteller. It doesn't shout, it nudges. When it falls, clouds begin to gather, vapour thickens, light fades, and the air feels heavy with possibility. When it rises, skies clear, and the world exhales into calm. Temperature and humidity join in, shaping the tone of the sky's message. Warm, moist air lifts with buoyancy. Cool, dry air settles with patience. Together they create the invisible texture of weather, layered, flowing, alive. Imagine the air as a grand orchestra. Pressure plays the rhythm, temperature the melody, humidity the harmony. Sometimes the song is soft and steady, like a clear morning after rain. Other times it grows into a crescendo, thunder, lightning, wind, then fades again into stillness. It is never silence, only pause. Scientists can measure this language in millibars and degrees, but its beauty lies in its balance. Every change, no matter how violent it may seem, is simply the atmosphere finding equilibrium once more. You can feel that balance even now, the way air moves gently across your skin, adjusting, shifting, breathing. So when the wind stirs your curtains or the clouds drift lazily overhead, remember, the air is speaking. It's telling you about warmth and movement, about distance and connection. It's the earth translating energy into feeling, physics into poetry. The weather isn't just something we experience, it's something we're part of, every second, every breath. Everything begins with a single motion, warmth lifting into the sky. When the sun touches the earth, some places absorb more heat than others. Dark soil, shimmering asphalt, a stretch of ocean catching the light. That heat doesn't stay still, it climbs. Warm air, lighter and more restless than the cool air above it, rises in wide, gentle spirals. This is convection, the atmosphere's way of stirring itself, endlessly and quietly. You've felt it before, though you may not have noticed. On a summer afternoon, the air shimmers above the road, bending the light in ripples. That shimmer is warmth escaping, a visible signature of invisible motion. Each rising current carries moisture from the ground, water lifted into the sky to one day return as rain. It's the cycle of energy, played out in silence, everywhere at once. When warm air rises, it cools, and as it cools, vapor condenses into tiny droplets, too small to see at first, but soon enough forming a haze, the first hint of a cloud. That's how every storm, every gentle drizzle, every fleeting wisp in the sky begins, with air, warmed by sunlight, letting go of its burden as it ascends. The atmosphere is a painter, and heat is its brush. Imagine standing in an open meadow at noon. The ground beneath you breathes warmth upward. Invisible columns of air lift quietly through the blue. Birds know how to find these updrafts, gliding without effort. Gliders and pilots do too. They call them thermals, pillars of rising air that make flight possible. Nature doesn't waste motion. Everything moving upward will one day fall again, completing the slow dance of balance. Even your breath joins this rhythm. When you exhale, the warmth leaves your body, drifts upward, and blends into the same invisible ocean above. You're part of the same exchange, a microcosm of what the planet does on a grand scale. Every movement of heat is an act of connection. The earth reaching for the sky answering with rain. In the science of weather, this process has numbers and equations. But in the poetry of life, it is simply a gesture of balance. Warmth rising, cooling, falling again. A single, endless breath that sustains all things. From the warmth that rises, something miraculous takes shape. Invisible vapor, carried upward in spirals of air, cools as it climbs. The higher it drifts, the colder it becomes, until the water vapor begins to gather, tiny droplets forming around the faintest specks of dust or salt. These particles, so small they could float forever, become the seeds of clouds. It's astonishing to think that every cloud, from the thinnest veil to the grandest storm, begins with something microscopic. A billion tiny droplets suspended together, held aloft by the air's delicate balance. They shimmer in sunlight, scatter colour, and paint the sky with texture and emotion. Some clouds are soft as whispers, others tower like mountains, but their essence is the same, warmth transformed into visible breath. When we gaze at a cloud, we're watching a moment of change, a conversation between temperature, pressure, and time. Each droplet inside is constantly forming and dissolving, growing and fading. A cloud is never still. It lives in transition, between gas and liquid, between sky and earth. In that fragile impermanence lies its beauty. Imagine lying on your back, eyes to the sky, watching clouds drift by. Their shapes shift slowly, dreamlike, forming creatures, continents, faces that disappear as soon as you name them. You're seeing the world's most ephemeral art, created by air, erased by motion. Yet within those drifting forms lies the blueprint of rain, of snow, of thunder. Science tells us this is all physics: condensation nuclei, latent heat, adiabatic cooling. But there's also something deeply human in it, the reminder that beauty often arises from invisible beginnings, that stillness and change coexist in the same sky. Clouds are more than decoration. They are the visible signature of the planet's balance. They regulate temperature, reflect sunlight, carry water across the world. When the day grows hot, they shade the earth. When night falls, they hold warmth close. They are both the planet's veil and its memory, drifting archives of where air has travelled and what it has touched. So next time you look up, remember, that soft white shape above you began as a whisper of vapour, a handful of dust, a rising breath. From the unseen, the visible was born, quietly, beautifully, and without haste. Every cloud has a structure, a form shaped by the laws of physics yet softened by chance. They look effortless, as if the sky were simply painting moods, but each type carries a story written in temperature, altitude, and motion. Clouds are the architecture of the atmosphere, temporary cathedrals of air and light. High above, where the air is thin and cold, the cirrus clouds drift. Long, delicate threads like strokes of silk. They're made not of water droplets, but of ice crystals, glinting faintly as sunlight scatters through them. These are the messengers of change, often appearing days before a storm. Below them, the altostratus spread wide and grey, filtering sunlight into a quiet silver glow. The sky's soft curtain before rain begins, and nearer to the ground, cumulus clouds build like sculptures, puffy and bright, born of daytime warmth. Some stay small, like harmless daydreams. Others rise taller, growing dense and shadowed, turning into the powerful cumulonimbus, thunderclouds with hearts of lightning. Each form reflects balance and transformation. The flat layers mean stability. The rising towers mean motion. When you watch clouds change shape, you're witnessing the air negotiating its own energy, redistributing heat with grace. Even their colour tells a story. White when the sun fills them, grey when they thicken with water, golden when the day exhales its final light. There's also rhythm in their evolution. A morning sky might begin clear, then decorate itself with streaks, then swell into great forms by afternoon. By nightfall, the shapes dissolve into haze. It's the same life cycle played again and again, formation, growth, fading, all within hours. The sky never stops building and unbuilding its cities of vapour. For centuries, people have found meaning in those shapes. Faces, animals, omens, signs of weather or destiny. But even without mythology, their silent beauty holds truth. Everything in nature is temporary, and in that impermanence lies peace. The clouds are born, they live briefly, and they pass. Yet the water that makes them continues on, falling as rain, flowing as rivers, returning again to the air. Look up now and you might see that the whole sky is breathing, forming, dissolving, and forming again. The clouds are not just decoration. They are the visible thought of the atmosphere, a reflection of the living pulse of the world. It's easy to forget that the air above us has mass. We think of the sky as light, endless, almost weightless. Yet every square metre of the Earth's surface quietly bears the pressure of a column of air that stretches upward for kilometres. An invisible ocean pressing gently down. If you could feel it all at once, it would be overwhelming. More than 10 tons of air above every person, every leaf, every wave. And still, we move within it effortlessly, because that same pressure fills us too. Our lungs, our blood, even the tiny spaces within our bodies are balanced against this weight. That's why we don't collapse under it. We are part of the equilibrium. The pressure outside and the pressure inside are always in quiet conversation, holding each other in harmony. This balance is what allows flight, breath, and even the sound of wind. It's what keeps oceans level and clouds afloat. Scientists measure this weight in units called millibars, but its presence is more poetic than numerical. You can sense it in the still heaviness before a storm, or in the sudden lightness when high pressure clears the sky. When air cools and grows dense, it presses down. When it warms and expands, it lifts. These invisible shifts, subtle, silent, are the heartbeat of weather itself. Think of it as the world's pulse. Areas of low pressure invite motion, pulling air inward, upward, where it cools and forms clouds. High pressure pushes outward, smoothing the air into calm blue. Together, these regions move like great living organs, inhaling and exhaling the atmosphere in cycles that shape every breeze and storm. When you feel the air grow heavy, you're sensing the physics of life in motion. That heaviness is not just humidity or fatigue. It's the physical pressure of the planet's breath, settling for a moment before moving again. When the air lightens, it's the world exhaling. So as you lie there listening, take a slow breath and imagine it. A column of air stretching from you to the edge of space, pressing softly, evenly, perfectly balanced. You're not beneath the sky, you're within it, supported by the same weight that holds the clouds, the same equilibrium that keeps the earth alive and calm. Every gust of wind, every drifting cloud, begins with a difference, a gentle imbalance in the weight of air. Where the pressure is high, air moves outward. Where it's low, air moves in to fill the space. This movement, invisible but unstoppable, is the breath of the world made visible through motion. It is the sky seeking equilibrium, always dancing toward balance. Picture it. Over warm ground, air expands and rises, leaving a pocket of low pressure behind. Cooler air nearby, heavier and denser, slides in to replace it. This quiet exchange sets the wind in motion. What feels like randomness, a sudden breeze through an open window, a sigh of wind across the ocean, is in truth the earth redistributing energy with infinite precision. Every moment, high and low pressures are chasing each other across the globe, their boundary lines shifting like tides in an unseen sea. When you watch a weather map, those curved lines, isobars, are the footprints of this invisible dance. The closer the lines, the stronger the wind. But even in their complexity, there's harmony. The atmosphere never stops moving because stillness would mean imbalance. Nature, like breath, must always flow. You've felt this dance in your own life too. Before a storm, the pressure drops. The air feels thicker, heavier. Birds grow quiet, the world seems to hold its breath. Then, when the storm passes and the sky clears, pressure rises again, and you might sense a strange lightness, a small relief, the same balance restored. The air has completed its conversation. This ceaseless movement connects everything. A storm forming over the Pacific influences the winds that sweep through distant continents. A warm pocket above the Sahara can nudge air currents that one day drift over your own home. The world's pressure system is one immense continuous choreography. Every motion rippling outward, every change felt somewhere else. So when the wind touches your skin, it's not just local air, it's a messenger from faraway places. A traveller shaped by deserts, oceans and mountains, it carries the memory of where it has been and the promise of where it will go next. This is the dance of pressure, balance found through motion, silence born from movement, stillness created by flow. In the end, weather is not about chaos. It's about connection. The sky's invisible rhythm, forever adjusting, forever alive. It begins so quietly you almost miss it. A soft coolness in the air, the scent of something new. High above, within those grey folds of cloud, countless droplets are gathering, colliding, merging. Each one begins as a microscopic sphere of water wrapped around a speck of dust or salt. Most never make it to the ground. They drift, evaporate, or return to vapour long before falling. But a few grow heavy enough to descend, pulled gently by gravity shaped by air. And so, the first drop of rain is born. From the human eye's view, it seems simple. Water falling from the sky. But within that small descent lies a delicate choreography. A raindrop grows as vapour condenses onto it, each layer cooling, smoothing its surface. As it falls, it changes shape. From perfect sphere to teardrop to tiny crown upon impact. Each drop carries the memory of the air it travelled through, a record of the journey from sky to soil. When it touches the ground, it releases more than water. It releases sound, that soft patter that quiets the world, that rhythm that makes the air feel closer. Even science can't measure the peace that sound creates. In the brain, it slows our heartbeat, lowers tension, calms thought. The sky, in its own way, sings us to stillness. The smell that follows, that earthy sweetness, is called petrichor. It comes from plant oils and soil bacteria awakened by the rain's arrival. The first drops carry these scents upward, mixing with ozone and freshness, reminding every living thing that water has returned. It's a message written in chemistry and memory. Life can begin again. Some drops never reach the ground. They fall through dry air, shrinking, vanishing before they land. These are called virga, ghost rain, streaks that fade mid-air. Visible from a distance like threads unspooling from the clouds, they're proof that even in disappearance there is beauty. Next time it rains, try this. Stand near a window and listen. Each drop you hear has travelled miles through the sky, through layers of air and light, shaped by wind and gravity, until it found this precise place, this exact moment. It's not just water falling. It's the sky returning to the earth, completing a cycle older than time, as natural and necessary as breath. The first drop is never alone. It is always followed by another, and another, a reminder that in this world, motion becomes rhythm, rhythm becomes renewal. The sky gives, the earth receives, and the air in between tells the story. When clouds grow tall and dark, the sky begins to hum. What we call a storm is not chaos, it's structure. Energy in motion, a natural orchestra composed of heat, wind, and water. Every note is born from imbalance, warm air rising quickly, cool air sinking in return, pressure shifting like the slow pulse of a drum. The result is a vast moving engine, self-organised, alive with rhythm. Picture a summer afternoon. The ground has been drinking sunlight for hours, warming the air above it. The air rises rapidly, carrying moisture upward into cooler regions of the sky. As it lifts, it cools, and vapour condenses into towering clouds. Cumulonimbus, great anvil shapes that reach heights higher than Mount Everest. Inside them, air currents churn. Warm rising, cold falling, water droplets colliding, splitting, charging. The sky becomes a cathedral of motion. Each storm cell is an intricate system of balance and exchange. Warmth becomes motion. Motion becomes sound. Electrical energy crackles within, separating charges until the tension is too great. Then lightning strikes, the atmosphere's brief but brilliant release. The air expands instantly with heat, and thunder follows, rolling through the landscape like the echo of creation. Even as we shelter from it, a storm's purpose is peace. It redistributes heat from one part of the world to another, cooling the land, watering fields, cleansing the air. Without storms, the planet would stagnate. Energy would build endlessly until the balance broke. In its loudest moments, weather is simply restoring calm. From a distance, a thunderhead looks alive, the base shadowed, the crown glowing white where the sun still touches it. You can almost hear the layers breathing, feel the vibration in your chest. Lightning flashes not only downward but sideways, connecting cloud to cloud, sky to sky. A network of energy returning to equilibrium. Some people fear storms, others find them soothing. There's something primal in their sound, something ancient in their scent. The drop in pressure, the smell of ozone, the percussion of rain. It all reaches deep into memory. It's the world announcing that it's still alive, still cycling, still breathing. So when you hear thunder rolling through the distance, try to listen not as a warning, but as a conversation. The earth is speaking in low tones, reminding us that harmony requires contrast, that serenity exists because of motion, that stillness only returns once the storm has sung its final note. Lightning is the sky remembering its own power. Within a storm, air rises and falls in violent harmony, droplets colliding, ice crystals brushing past one another, atoms exchanging tiny sparks. As the motion continues, charges separate, positive above, negative below. The difference grows until the tension can no longer be contained. Then, in a flash faster than thought, the balance restores itself. Light tears through darkness. The sky reconnects with the earth. What we see as lightning is the brief path of least resistance, a plasma channel, hotter than the surface of the sun, slicing through miles of air in less than a second. But it isn't random. It's nature's way of neutralizing imbalance, equalizing the electric pressure that builds invisibly between clouds and ground. Each bolt, though fleeting, is part of a global network of equilibrium. At any given moment, thousands of lightning strikes flicker somewhere on the planet, a silent web linking atmosphere and earth in pulses of light. The process is ancient, perhaps older than life itself. Long before creatures breathed, lightning flashed over primordial oceans, splitting molecules, sparking chemistry that may have led to the first forms of life. In that sense, every bolt today carries a memory of our beginning. The same energy, the same pattern, endlessly repeating. And though it seems violent, lightning is also delicate. Its branching shape follows the path of ionized air, tracing invisible trails of electrons through the sky. Each strike is unique, fractal, alive with structure, a frozen moment of geometry between heaven and earth. Scientists can explain the voltage and speed, but there remains something poetic in that sudden brilliance, something beyond measurement, the way it illuminates the world for a heartbeat, showing trees, mountains, raindrops, every detail carved in silver before fading back to night. There are many kinds of lightning, forked bolts leaping from cloud to ground, sheet lightning spreading across the sky, silent flashes within distant storms, and even sprites, ethereal bursts of red and blue light that dance high above the thunderclouds, touching the edge of space, each type a different form of conversation within the same electric breath. If you've ever watched lightning from a safe distance, you know its paradox. It feels alive yet fleeting, terrifying yet beautiful. The pause before it strikes seems eternal, and then flash, thunder, calm. The air smells sharper, cleaner, as if the world has exhaled. In the end, lightning isn't destruction, it's correction, a reminder that imbalance can lead to brilliance, that even in tension there is beauty, and that the universe, at its heart, always seeks connection. After the light comes the sound, deep, rolling, patient. Thunder is not the sky's anger, but its sigh of relief, the low echo of balance restored. When lightning sears through air, it heats that narrow channel to more than 30,000 degrees in less than a blink. The air expands faster than sound itself can travel, sending out waves in all directions. What we hear as thunder is that expansion unraveling, the atmosphere exhaling after its brief, blinding tension. It begins as a crack, a sharp punctuation in the silence. Then it rolls, bending and stretching through layers of air and terrain. Across valleys, it deepens. Over cities, it multiplies. Through forests, it softens to a low hum. That's why no two claps of thunder ever sound alike. They're shaped by the world that receives them. In open fields, the sound fades like breath. In mountains, it echoes endlessly, like memory itself returning. For centuries, people have listened to thunder as though it were language. To ancient minds, it was the voice of gods or spirits, a reminder of power beyond comprehension. Yet in its truth, thunder is pure physics. Vibration turned to sound, air made audible. Still, knowing the science doesn't make it any less mysterious. There's something primal in that deep resonance, something that bypasses reason and goes straight to instinct. If you've ever been alone during a distant storm, you might recall the pause between lightning and thunder, that moment of counting, waiting. The farther away the storm, the longer the delay. In those seconds of silence, time stretches, and anticipation becomes awareness. Then the low, soothing rumble arrives, and somehow it feels like release. Thunder carries rhythm. It doesn't strike and vanish. It rolls, fades, returns. It's the heartbeat of the storm, a pulse that slows as the energy above begins to ease. To some, it's frightening. To others, strangely comforting. Because in its depth, there's honesty, an admission that even the sky must sometimes tremble to find stillness again. When the storm passes, the echoes linger, faint vibrations carried on the cooling air. The world feels clearer, lighter. You breathe differently, slower, as though your own body has followed the same cycle. Tension, release, calm. Thunder teaches that sound itself can be cleansing. That even the loudest moment can end in silence, and that silence afterward is deeper because of it. The storm has spoken, and the earth, and perhaps you, have listened. When the last drops fade and silence returns, something remarkable happens. The world begins to smell alive again. The air fills with a scent so familiar, so grounding that it seems older than memory itself. It's soft, earthy, and sweet, like soil breathing after sleep. This is petrichor, the fragrance of rain meeting the land. The word comes from the Greek petra, meaning stone, and ichor, the fluid that flowed in the veins of the gods. Fitting, because there's something divine about it. Petrichor is not just one scent, but a symphony of many. Plant oils released from dry ground, the touch of ozone from lightning above, and geosmin, a compound created by soil-dwelling bacteria called actinomycetes. When raindrops strike the earth, they free these tiny molecules into the air, carrying them upward in mist so fine that our noses can detect even a few parts per trillion. You can sense it before the first drop falls, that distant whisper of moisture on dust, the promise of rain. It awakens something deep in us, perhaps from the time when our ancestors relied on such scents to know when the land would be fertile again. It's more than smell, it's memory written in chemistry. When rain begins, the rhythm of sound and scent merge. Each drop striking the earth creates tiny air bubbles that burst upward, releasing miniature aerosols of fragrance. That's why petrichor is strongest at the beginning of a storm and fades as the soil grows soaked. The air becomes heavier, filled with invisible particles of life returning to motion. It's curious how our minds respond. Studies show that petrichor slows the heartbeat and calms the nervous system. It's as if the Earth's own exhale tells us to rest. Perhaps that's why so many of us stand near windows or step outside during light rain, not to see, but to breathe. The next time you catch that scent, notice how everything pauses for a moment. Leaves glisten, roads darken. The air feels cooler and somehow more honest. The world after rain carries a hush that words can't quite hold. A silence filled not with emptiness, but renewal. The storm has washed away noise and dust, leaving clarity in its wake. The scent that rises is the earth's quiet gratitude, a reminder that even after turbulence, beauty lingers. The air you breathe in that moment has touched stone, soil and sky. It's the fragrance of connection, between ground and cloud, between life and motion, between you and the living world that surrounds you. Above us, invisible to the eye, there are rivers flowing through the air, immense streams of vapour winding around the globe. These are the atmospheric rivers, carrying more water than the Amazon, though not a single drop is visible. They drift thousands of kilometres across oceans, shaping weather and life wherever they go. Imagine them as vast bands of moisture, stretching from the tropics toward the poles. Warm air, heavy with evaporated ocean water, rises and is caught in powerful wind currents. These currents form long, narrow corridors that can transport billions of tons of water at once, enough to fill countless lakes, to nourish continents. Yet we cannot see them. They move silently like ghostly tides above the clouds. When these sky rivers reach land, they meet the contours of mountains or the chill of higher latitudes. The air cools, and all that invisible water begins to condense, falling as rain or snow. This is why storms often seem to arrive in long bands, why one region might receive days of steady rainfall while another remains dry. The sky is not chaotic, it is organised by flow. Even storms have structure. Sometimes these rivers bring renewal, rains that fill reservoirs, revive forests, restore balance. Other times they arrive too fiercely, bringing floods and power. But even then their mission is the same: to move water from where it is abundant to where it is needed. The planet, always in motion, seeks balance through these hidden channels of vapour. If you could see them from space, you'd watch luminous threads stretching over the oceans, arching like veins of mist. The Earth would look alive, breathing moisture from equator to pole, like blood circulating through a heart. And in truth, that's exactly what they are: the hydrological heartbeat of the planet. Each drop of rain that falls tonight may have once been part of a sky river, carried across half the world before finding its way to your window. When you listen to the rain, you're hearing the end of a journey that began in sunlight and sea spray. The sound outside is the Earth's great circulation, completing its loop once more. We live beneath an ocean we can't see, an ocean that flows without sound, without colour, yet touches every living thing. The next time the air feels heavy and rain begins to fall, remember, you're standing beneath one of the planet's great rivers, passing silently above, delivering the breath of the sea back to the land. If you could step back far enough to see the entire planet at once, you'd notice the air itself moving in great rhythmic patterns, vast loops that never stop. This is the global circulation, the atmosphere's way of distributing sunlight, warmth, and moisture around the Earth. It's the blueprint of weather, the grand choreography that connects every breeze and storm. Near the equator, sunlight pours down more directly, heating the ground and sea until the air above them swells and rises. As that air climbs, it cools and releases its moisture as tropical rain, feeding jungles, rivers, and cloud towers that seem to touch the edge of space. The now dry air continues its journey north and south, high above the surface until it cools enough to sink again around 30 degrees latitude. Here, deserts are born, the Sahara, the outback, regions where descending air warms, drying everything beneath it. This cycle, known as the Hadley cell, repeats in layers across the globe. Beyond it, the feral and polar cells weave their own patterns, creating belts of wind, the trade winds near the tropics, the westerlies across temperate zones, the polar easterlies whispering at the edge of the world. These flows intertwine, shaping the movement of clouds, steering storms, sculpting climates. It is an endless exchange, heat moving toward cold, air balancing itself through motion. You may not see it, but you live within it. The breeze that touches your face tonight is part of a system that connects oceans to continents, deserts to glaciers, past to future. The air you breathe has likely drifted through multiple cells, rising, falling, changing direction, carrying warmth, dust, and life. In a single breath, you share molecules that once floated over forests in Brazil or glaciers in Greenland. The entire planet breathes as one vast organism. Even the calmest day holds traces of this motion. A faint wind at dawn, a soft current through an open window, each is a ripple in the global pattern. When you pause and feel that air move, you're feeling the planet's pulse, the same rhythm that has guided weather for millions of years. The global circulation isn't perfect symmetry. It bends and shifts with the seasons, with the tilt of Earth's axis, with the endless play of sunlight and shadow. Yet through all its change, it remains constant in purpose, balance. It is nature's quiet promise that motion will always seek harmony. So as you breathe, imagine your own inhale and exhale joining that planetary rhythm. You're part of it, a small current in a much larger flow. Every breath, every wind, every drifting cloud belongs to the same living system, looping endlessly, patiently, beautifully around the world. The weather is not only shaped by the air above us, it is written by the ocean below. The sea and the sky are partners in an endless exchange, passing energy, moisture, and memory back and forth in a cycle that defines the rhythm of life on Earth. Without the oceans, there would be no rain, no wind, no climate as we know it. The two are bound together like breath and heartbeat, distinct but inseparable. When sunlight touches the ocean's surface, water begins to evaporate. Molecules of liquid escape into vapor, rising invisibly into the atmosphere. In doing so, they carry the sea's warmth and energy upward, fueling clouds and storms. The ocean loses heat, the air gains it, a balance maintained over vast distances. This quiet trade governs the planet's temperature, redistributing energy from the equator to the poles, from season to season. The surface of the sea reflects the sky, but it also feeds it. Every wave that breaks sends salt and microscopic life into the air, tiny aerosols that act as seeds for clouds. These particles become centers of condensation, allowing vapor to gather and grow. In this way, the ocean helps the sky create rain, and the rain, when it falls, returns to feed the ocean once more. The cycle closes, nothing wasted, everything shared. Deep below, currents move like slow rivers, carrying heat around the world. The Gulf Stream, for example, keeps northern Europe warm while drawing cool waters from the Arctic. This underwater circulation mirrors the wind patterns above it. Together, they form a planetary duet of motion. When one shifts, the other responds, adjusting to preserve balance. El Niño and La Niña, those vast oscillations of temperature in the Pacific, are the most visible expression of this relationship. A small change in ocean warmth can alter wind patterns across continents, bringing floods to one region, drought to another. It's a reminder of how intimately everything is connected, how a ripple in the sea can become a storm in the sky. Next time you stand at the edge of the ocean, watch how the horizon blurs. The boundary between air and water disappears in the shimmer of light. That's where the conversation happens, where the sky leans down to touch the sea, where clouds are born and winds begin their journey. The ocean breathes upward, the sky breathes downward. Together they regulate the world's temperature, the planet's weather, and the pulse of every living thing. You too are part of that cycle. The water in your body was once ocean, once cloud, once rain. The air you breathe has crossed waves, mountains, and time itself. In every drop and every breath, The ocean and the sky are speaking. Their dialogue is constant, wordless, and full of grace. A song of balance sung in vapour and wind. High above the clouds, where the air thins and the cold deepens, narrow ribbons of wind race around the planet. These are the jet streams, invisible highways in the sky, flowing faster than any storm below. They circle the earth like the strings of a great instrument, their movements shaping weather, seasons, and flight paths. You cannot see them, yet they guide the rhythm of the atmosphere with quiet authority. A jet stream forms where warm and cold air masses meet, especially near the boundaries of the great circulation cells. The contrast in temperature and pressure creates strong winds that stretch across thousands of kilometers, moving west to east at incredible speeds, sometimes over 300 kilometers an hour. Pilots ride these currents to save time and fuel, letting the sky's natural momentum carry them forward. Birds, too, have learned to sense and use them, soaring with almost no effort. Though they're invisible, their presence is everywhere. A small shift in a jet stream can change the path of storms, redirect rain, or stall weather systems for weeks. When the jet flows smoothly, the atmosphere remains calm. When it meanders, bending north and south, it pulls cold air into warmth and warmth into cold, creating the patterns we call seasons. The jet stream is the sky's nervous system, delicate, reactive, responsive. It links distant regions, making the weather in one hemisphere whisper to the other. A bend above the Pacific can echo days later over Europe. A slight warming in the Arctic can weaken the jet, letting winter spill southward. Nothing in nature happens in isolation. The air remembers. You might imagine these streams as glowing ribbons of light, flowing endlessly through the upper atmosphere, shifting with the turning Earth. If you could watch from space, they would look like threads of silver mist, weaving across continents, marking the planet's pulse. Even here on the ground, you feel their influence. When a front arrives earlier than expected, when winds suddenly shift direction, when skies clear after days of rain, the jet stream has moved, altering the balance above. It's the whisper of the high sky, a voice you can't hear but always live beneath. The next time you gaze upward, remember that the air above is alive with motion you'll never see. Graceful, tireless, powerful. The jet streams are the planet's breath lines, tracing invisible loops of balance between heat and cold, calm and storm. They remind us that even the most unseen forces shape our everyday, that the weather's quiet order is written in motion, flowing ceaselessly through the thin blue edge of the world. The sea remembers in temperatures. Beneath its surface, the ocean stores sunlight like a living archive, keeping the warmth of one season to share with the next. When we speak of weather, we are really speaking of this slow exchange of memory between water and air. The sea absorbs heat during summer and releases it in winter, softening the extremes, calming the rhythm of the world. Each current carries not only salt and life, but also the memory of where it has been. Warm water travels northward, cool water slides south, and the air above takes on their stories: humidity, temperature, scent. This is why coastal air feels different from inland air, why a breeze from the ocean carries something familiar even to those far from shore. The ocean's influence never ends at its edge. When the surface warms, evaporation increases, feeding clouds that drift far inland. When it cools, the sky above grows still, the air drier, the winds gentler. This is the quiet dialogue between ocean and atmosphere, a relationship so constant we rarely notice it, yet it shapes every storm, every monsoon, every drought. Even distant lands feel its touch. In the Pacific, this memory takes the form of great patterns, El Niño and La Niña. A small change in ocean temperature there can shift rainfall across continents, alter harvests, and move jet streams thousands of kilometers away. It's a reminder that nothing in nature is isolated. All is woven into the same current of cause and effect, the same gentle flow of influence. When night falls over the sea, the surface cools slowly, releasing the warmth it gathered from the sun. That release rises as vapour, forming clouds that drift toward morning. The cycle is simple but profound. Sunlight becomes warmth, warmth becomes vapour, vapour becomes rain, and rain returns to the sea. Energy is never lost, it only changes form, a lesson written into every wave and every cloud. You can sense the memory of the sea even on land, in the smell of rain, in the taste of air after a storm, in the way humidity wraps around your skin like a faint echo of distant tides. The ocean never forgets, and the air never stops listening. Perhaps that's why standing near the water feels like remembering something you've always known. The steady rhythm of the waves mirrors the rhythm of your breath. The sound, the scent, the air, all remind you that you too are made of this cycle. The same water that falls as rain once drifted in clouds, once flowed in rivers, once belonged to the deep. The sea's memory lives in you. Every inhale carries a trace of it. Every heartbeat echoes its tide. Through weather, through time, through life itself, the ocean remembers and the sky responds. The seasons are the planet's heartbeat, a slow, graceful rhythm written in light and tilt. As the Earth leans gently on its axis, sunlight shifts its reach, painting warmth and shadow in changing patterns across the world. It is this quiet motion, not distance from the sun, that gives us spring's renewal, summer's abundance, autumn's reflection, and winter's rest. The rhythm never stops, it only breathes. When the sun moves northward, the days grow long, air warms, and winds carry moisture upward to form towering clouds. The land awakens, leaves unfurl, rivers swell, and the world hums with invisible energy. In these months, the atmosphere is alive with convection, with the rising pulse of heat redistributing itself toward the poles. This is Earth's great inhale. Then comes autumn, when the tilt begins to change its mind. The sunlight softens, air cools, and the long exhale begins. The jet streams shift, storms migrate, and rains fall differently. What was once abundance turns to reflection. The sky's quiet, the light deepens, and the air grows clear. Winter follows not as an ending, but as a pause, a season of rest. Even the air slows down, its motions gentler, its patterns simpler. In this pause, energy gathers again. Beneath frozen soil, seeds wait for the whisper of warmth. Beneath cloudless skies, the oceans hold their heat, ready to release it once more. And when the tilt shifts back, the cycle begins anew, endless, ancient, perfect in its balance. Humans have always felt this pulse. You can sense it in your own body, the way your energy rises with light and slows with darkness, the way even your breath seems to mirror the Earth's slow inhale and exhale. The weather changes, but its rhythm is steady. Each season hands its energy to the next, a seamless transfer of motion through time. Every year the atmosphere performs this quiet symphony of adjustment. Winds rearrange, currents flow, temperatures bloom and fade. Yet beneath all this complexity, there is a single intention: harmony. The Earth does not chase perfection. It finds balance in movement, in change. Next time you step outside at dawn, in spring's soft mist, summer's glow, autumn's hush, or winter's frost, take a moment to feel that rhythm. The air touching your skin carries the story of the planet's tilt, its endless motion around the sun. You are living within the breath of a world that has turned this way for 4.5 billion years. And like your own heartbeat, you don't need to control it. You only need to listen. The seasons pulse on, steady and sure, reminding us that even the largest cycles are simply another kind of flow. Slow, patient, eternal. There is a moment after the thunder fades and the clouds drift apart when the air grows still, a hush that feels sacred. This calm isn't emptiness, it's restoration. The atmosphere, having released its energy, finds balance again. The world seems to hold its breath, waiting, listening. Even the smallest breeze feels deliberate, as though the sky itself was sighing in relief. Scientifically, this calm is a state of equilibrium. Pressure equalizes, temperatures blend, and the upward currents that fuel the storm slow into quiet spirals. But to the senses it feels deeper, a peace that seeps into everything. The air smells clean, rinsed by rain. The horizon sharpens, sound travels farther. It's as if the storm washed the world and handed it back, renewed. This balance is the atmosphere's purpose. It never stops seeking it, through motion, through release, through stillness. The weather is not war between elements, it's conversation. Every storm, every wind, every drizzle is simply part of the planet's continuous negotiation toward calm. We often forget that peace in nature is not the absence of movement, but the perfection of it. There's a rhythm here that mirrors life itself. Our days too are shaped by imbalance and resolution. Tension rises, energy builds, and eventually we find quiet again. The world outside reflects the world within, both governed by cycles, both guided by flow. Imagine stepping outside after the rain. Puddles mirror the sky, leaves glisten, birds call tentatively, testing the air. There's no rush in the scene, no demand, just stillness, delicate and complete. The sky's energy has not disappeared, it has only softened. The air that once roared with thunder now drifts in silence, carrying a trace of memory. Proof that even great forces can return to gentleness. This moment is a reminder that calm is not fragile. It is strong, the natural conclusion of movement. The planet doesn't resist storms, it transforms them. Each burst of chaos eventually folds into order. The rain that fell returns warmth to the air. The cooled winds mix with sunlight, and life continues, steady, breathing, balanced. So when your own world feels turbulent, remember this pattern. Every storm finds its pause. Every rush of energy settles into stillness. The calm between storms is not just weather, it's wisdom. The atmosphere teaches it quietly over and over every day, and in that calm you can rest, you can listen, you can breathe again with the earth, in, out, balanced once more. In the quiet cold of winter, when the air itself seems to pause, a small miracle unfolds in silence. A single snowflake begins to form, not as something fragile, but as something exquisitely precise. Each flake starts as a tiny speck of dust or salt, drifting through the upper air. Around that, nucleus water vapour begins to freeze, arranging itself into the elegant geometry of ice. What emerges is sixfold symmetry, a pattern that seems impossibly intricate, yet perfectly natural. No two snowflakes are identical, they all follow the same invisible rule. As they fall, the temperature and humidity change with every metre of descent. The arms of the crystal grow longer, or curl, or branch depending on the conditions they meet. In this way, each flake becomes a record of the air it has passed through, a diary of weather written in ice. Look closely, and you'd see that each flake is both order and randomness combined. The molecular lattice of ice ensures structure, the environment ensures variation. This balance of rule and freedom gives snow its infinite beauty. Scientists have photographed millions of flakes and never found twins. Nature prefers repetition, but never exact repetition. An infinite improvisation on a single theme. When snow falls, it doesn't roar or strike. It descends softly through layers of stillness, blanketing the ground with silence. Each flake adds to the next, their geometry interlocking in quiet collaboration. Together they change the way the world sounds, muffling footsteps, absorbing echoes, slowing everything down. The landscape becomes hushed, luminous. Even light behaves differently, scattering through the lattice of ice, turning fields and rooftops into pale mirrors of the sky. To hold a flake on your glove is to hold a moment of perfect impermanence. It melts in seconds, returning to water, to vapour, to the air again. But for that brief instant, you're witnessing the atmosphere's art, physics made poetry. In each snowflake, the world reveals its secret language of symmetry, its preference for beauty hidden in precision. When you see snow falling at night under a soft streetlight, remember, you're not watching cold or chaos, but harmony. Every flake is a tiny reflection of the universe's design, shaped by the same principles that form galaxies and crystals, spirals and shells. Patterns repeat across scale and distance, whispering one truth. Nature loves order, but it expresses it through flow. And as the snow settles, the world seems to breathe slower. The air cools, the noise fades, and everything, even time, drifts into calm geometry. We think of wind as empty, as nothing but motion. Yet the air that rushes past your skin carries weight, pressure, temperature, and history. It is matter, invisible but real, flowing in vast streams that shape mountains, forests, and even the course of time. Every gust is a sculptor, every breeze a messenger. The wind is not a ghost, it is the touch of the atmosphere itself. When air moves, it carries momentum, billions of molecules pushing, colliding, transferring energy in silence. A soft breeze might seem gentle, but the physics behind it is immense. Across an open field, even a faint wind exerts tons of force, bending grasses, cooling skin, steering clouds. The same principles that launch hurricanes are present in the quiet breath that moves a curtain at your window. It's all the same process, air seeking balance through motion. Wind is born from differences, warm and cold, high and low pressure, land and sea. These contrasts set air in motion, just as contrast sets emotion in motion within us. And as with emotions, the wind's purpose is not destruction, it is release, a way for imbalance to resolve itself. The stronger the contrast, the stronger the flow. Over centuries, wind has carried more than weather. It's been the world's great traveller, spreading seeds, shaping dunes, carving canyons, moving ships, guiding birds. The entire map of human history of migration and discovery was drawn by wind. Even now, jet streams and trade winds ferry dust from Africa to the Amazon, salt from oceans to mountain snow. What falls on one shore began its journey half a world away. You can feel the air's weight if you pay attention. The way wind presses gently on your face, the way it fills a sail, how it roars when it meets resistance. These are not illusions. They are the atmosphere's physical presence made audible. The wind carries texture, warmth, chill, scent. It moves through us as much as around us. Each inhale is a conversation with the same air that circled the globe. In poetry, wind is often called breath, spirit, motion, and in science, it is exactly that. Movement that cannot stop. The earth rotates, heats unevenly, tilts, spins, and so the wind must flow, endlessly redistributing energy across the sphere. Without it, the world would stagnate, the oceans would still, and life would wither in silence. Wind is the planet's circulation, its pulse in motion. Tonight, as you hear the faint murmur of air outside, remember that it is not empty. It has weight. It has purpose. It has travelled from mountain to plain, from ocean to city, from dusk into your night. The wind connects all things, a bridge between silence and sound, between movement and rest. And in its flow, everything, even you, finds balance once again. Mountains do more than rise from the earth. They breathe. Their shapes, vast and silent, sculpt the movement of air just as riverbeds shape the flow of water. When wind meets a mountain, it has no choice but to climb, and as it climbs, it cools, condenses, and transforms the invisible into visible: mist, cloud, rain, and snow. In this way, mountains teach the sky how to speak. This process is called orographic lift, a gentle name for something grand. Warm, moist air travelling across plains is lifted by slopes and peaks. As it rises, it expands in the thinner air, losing heat. The moisture it carries condenses into clouds, and soon rain begins to fall. The wind continues its climb, leaving behind valleys lush and green. Then, on the other side, it descends, dry, warm, and light, creating arid lands in its wake. One side becomes forest, the other desert. The same air, shaped by elevation, gives two faces to the same sky. You can sense this breathing even without seeing it. In mountain valleys, mornings often begin with fog, a low-lying whisper of the night's coolness. As the sun rises, the air warms and flows upward, carrying scents of pine and stone. By afternoon, clouds bloom above the peaks, born of that rising air. And when evening falls, coolness returns. The currents reverse, and the valleys fill once more with calm. The mountain's respiration continues. Inhale, exhale, every day, every season. For the people who live near them, mountains shape everything: climate, crops, wind, even the tone of silence. The air there feels different, thinner, purer. You breathe slower, deeper, as if matching the rhythm of the peaks themselves. Ancient cultures saw mountains as sacred not because they reached the heavens, but because they joined earth and sky, a bridge for breath between the two. Even the storms that crown their summits are not random. Lightning gathers where the air thins, clouds spiral where the terrain curves. Every ridge alters the wind's direction, every canyon funnels it anew. The mountains turn the atmosphere into music, slow, deep, resonant. And when snow falls there, it doesn't melt quickly. It waits, layered in silence, storing water that will one day become rivers, lakes, and rain again. The mountains don't just breathe, they sustain. Their exhales feed valleys far below, carrying life to places that never see their peaks. And so when you look toward distant ranges, hazy in evening light, imagine the air moving over them, rising, cooling, falling, a steady cycle of transformation. The mountains are not barriers to the sky, they are lungs of the earth. Through them the planet breathes, quietly, perpetually, beautifully. If the mountains are the earth's lungs, then the deserts are its pauses, long, unbroken silences where the wind slows and light expands. In the desert, weather becomes minimal, distilled to its essence. There are no storms of noise, only storms of heat and dust. The sky stretches so wide that even time feels slower beneath it. Yet, in that stillness, the atmosphere continues its work. Steady, patient, unseen. Deserts are born from motion, not stillness. They form on the leeward side of mountains, where air that has shed its moisture descends, warm and dry. This is the rain shadow, the quiet echo of orographic lift. As the air falls, it compresses and warms, evaporating what little water remains. Over centuries, that pattern carves landscapes of stone, salt, and sand. What looks barren is actually balance expressed through simplicity. During the day, the desert burns. The sun pours down unfiltered light, and without moisture to absorb it, the heat radiates freely. Temperatures climb until the very air shimmers, bending vision into mirage. Yet when night falls, that same heat escapes instantly into the emptiness above, and cold settles fast. The difference between day and night can be more than 30 degrees, a testament to the air's purity and the absence of clouds. The desert silence is not the lack of weather, but weather in its purest form, direct, unsoftened, absolute. Still, life finds rhythm there, The air that seems lifeless carries faint breezes that shape dunes, sculpting them into curves that mimic waves. Sand grains drift like liquid, whispering across vast plains in slow motion. Even here, wind is a creator. It builds and rebuilds the land endlessly, painting the earth with its invisible brush. To stand in a desert at dawn is to experience stillness unlike anywhere else. The air is cool, the horizon infinite, the world unhurried. Sound travels far but softly. The cry of a distant bird, the slide of sand under your feet. The atmosphere feels thinner, lighter, as though the sky has drawn nearer. It's in this quiet that you can hear the planet's heartbeat most clearly. Faint, slow, eternal. Scientists once thought of deserts as voids, but they are in truth the planet's resting breath. Their heat drives global winds, their dryness contrasts with the moisture of jungles, their albedo reflects sunlight that cools the earth. Even their silence serves purpose, a pause in the song of weather, a measure of restraint between storms. The desert reminds us that stillness is part of motion, that silence is part of sound. The same air that roars through hurricanes also drifts over dunes without a whisper, and both serve the same balance, energy moving, seeking harmony, finding rest. In the hush of the desert, nothing is wasted. Every grain of sand, every flicker of heat, every breath of air is part of the same endless flow. At the heart of the most powerful storms lies a paradox: perfect stillness. The eye of a hurricane is a circle of calm surrounded by chaos, a tranquil core where winds soften, clouds part, and sunlight sometimes filters through. Around it, air spirals at tremendous speed, tearing at sea and sky alike. Yet within that boundary, everything slows. It is peace born from motion, serenity cradled by force. A hurricane begins over warm ocean water. Heat rises, lifting moist air high into the sky. As it ascends, the vapor condenses, releasing even more energy, feeding the storm like breath-feeding flame. The cycle strengthens. Rising air draws in more from below, spinning faster as the Earth's rotation bends its path into a spiral. The result is one of nature's greatest structures, vast, symmetrical, alive. But at the center, a strange thing happens. Air that has risen so high now sinks, warmed and dried by descent. The sinking motion cancels turbulence, and the winds fall away. The sky opens. In the eye, the sea below may even appear smooth, reflecting light back into the void. For a moment, amid destruction, there is clarity. You could stand there and hear only the hush of distant wind, the calmer silence surrounded by the fiercest noise on Earth. Meteorologists can describe every detail: the Coriolis effect, convection cells, the pressure gradient between eye and wall. Yet what's most haunting is how this pattern mirrors life itself. Tension encircling peace, movement surrounding stillness. The storm in its fury still makes space for calm. The eye doesn't last forever. As the storm moves, that fragile balance shifts, the winds close in again, and motion consumes the quiet. But for that brief interval, the atmosphere demonstrates its deepest truth, that even in turmoil, equilibrium can exist. Nature does not choose between chaos and peace. It holds both, perfectly, for a time. You might feel that same pattern in your own heart. Moments when life spins wildly, when everything around you feels unsteady, and yet deep inside there is a center, a place untouched by the motion. The storm's eye lives within you too. It's the awareness that remains calm even as everything changes. When the hurricane passes and the air clears, the world seems sharper, colours brighter, silence heavier. The balance has been restored. What was motion returns to rest. What was chaos becomes calm. The atmosphere has remembered its purpose: to flow, to release, to return. In every storm, the sky performs a lesson. Peace is not the absence of motion, but the point of balance within it. The eye is not escape, it is understanding. Even the wildest weather holds space for stillness. When snow begins to fall, the world holds its breath. The air thickens with silence. Motion slows until even sound seems to move differently. Each flake drifts through the sky at its own pace, soft, unhurried, steady. It doesn't rush downward. It glides, turning and spinning in currents too small to see. Snow has gravity, yet it seems to resist it, choosing instead to float. There is a reason the world feels quiet when it snows. The structure of snow, countless interlocking crystals full of tiny spaces, absorbs sound. Every flake acts like a cushion, trapping air, softening footsteps, swallowing echoes. The result is a blanket not just over the ground, but over noise itself. It's a soundscape of stillness, as if the atmosphere has chosen to rest. Scientifically, snow begins high above, in cold clouds where vapor freezes directly into ice. As flakes fall, they pass through different layers of temperature and humidity, growing more complex, more unique. Sometimes they merge into soft clusters, sometimes they remain single and defined. By the time they reach the ground, they have travelled a long, delicate journey through invisible gradients of air. But science alone can't capture the emotion of snowfall. There's something ancient in the way it transforms the world. Streets, trees, and rooftops lose their sharp edges. The familiar becomes strange, softer, gentler, endless. The colour of light changes too. Even at night the sky glows faintly, reflecting off the snow's surface. Darkness becomes luminous. In that muted glow, time seems to slow down. The body relaxes, the mind drifts, the heart quiets. It's as though the snow itself carries a message from the atmosphere. To rest, to breathe, to listen. Every flake that lands on your skin is a tiny miracle of geometry and chance. A fleeting sculpture that melts back into water the instant it touches warmth. The next morning, the landscape speaks a new language. Footprints appear like memories pressed into white. The air feels pure, cool, unspoiled. Even breathing changes. You draw in air that has been filtered by stillness, crisp and light. Snowfall is weather slowed to meditation. It is motion that feels like peace. And though it melts, it never truly disappears. It becomes rivers, lakes, clouds, and one day perhaps snow again. In its quiet descent, the snow reminds us that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it drifts, softly, invisibly, reshaping the world without a sound. In the heart of the storm, where air rises and falls with violent rhythm, another kind of frozen beauty takes shape, hail. It forms not in the calm of winter, but in the chaos of thunderclouds, born of updrafts so powerful they carry water upward against gravity. Within those clouds, drops are lifted high into freezing air, turned to ice, then dropped again, only to be caught and carried upward once more. Each journey adds a new layer, a new memory, until the growing sphere becomes too heavy to hold. Then, with one final descent, it falls. A message from the sky written in rings of frozen time. If you were to slice a hailstone in half, you'd see its history. Transparent layers mark moments of calm. Opaque bands show where supercooled water froze instantly in turbulence. It's a cross-section of motion, a frozen diary of a storm's breath. Scientists can read those layers the way geologists read rock, each band an echo of temperature, pressure, and wind. What seems like chaos from below is, within, perfect order. Hail reminds us that weather is not random. It is a pattern of repetition, of energy cycling through form after form until balance returns. Even the violence of the storm serves equilibrium. The air that throws hailstones skyward is the same air that later cools and stills the land with rain. Nature's wildness and peace are not opposites. They are consecutive verses in the same song. And then there is ice, the quiet sibling of hail, formed not in turmoil but in patience. When water cools slowly, its molecules arrange into crystalline perfection. Ice expands as it freezes, floating on its own liquid, a rare property that allows lakes to protect life beneath their frozen surfaces. In that way, ice is gentleness made structure, fragility turned to strength. Both hail and ice carry the same secret: transformation through motion. They are water's way of remembering its journey, from vapour to droplet to solid, then back again when warmth returns. Each shift is temporary, each state a chapter in the same flowing story. If you listen during a hailstorm, you can hear the rhythm of it, the percussion of frozen rain striking the world, sharp yet strangely musical. And when it passes, the stillness that follows feels deeper, as if the earth itself had been cleared of noise. All these frozen forms, hail, frost, snow, ice, are simply water expressing its versatility. The same element that carves rivers and nourishes forests also sculpts storms and glazes windows in winter. There is no contradiction in that, just one truth repeating itself through change, that beauty can be fierce, and stillness can be born from motion. Sometimes the sky feels like a reflection of our inner world. The still air before dawn, the slow gathering of clouds, the sudden storm and the calm that follows. These patterns in the atmosphere echo the same patterns within us. Weather and mind are not separate. Both are fields of motion, governed by flow, contrast and balance. When we feel heavy, it is like a low-pressure system settling in, energy drawn inward, waiting to rise again. When we feel light, ideas move like wind, thoughts travelling fast and free. The sun of joy, the fog of confusion, the lightning of inspiration, each is an internal weather, as real and dynamic as the clouds above. Even our breath follows the same rhythm. Inhale, expand, exhale, release. We are miniature atmospheres carrying storms and calm within. Science and poetry meet here. The same physics that moves air moves emotion. Temperature becomes passion. Pressure becomes tension. Condensation becomes tears. The difference is only scale. The sky uses wind and vapour. We use feeling and thought. But the goal is the same: balance. When imbalance builds, the storm must come, not to harm, but to clear. Think of how you feel when it rains. The air cools, the noise softens, the mind quiets. You can sense relief in the sound of falling water, as if the world itself were exhaling. That's what we do when we cry. We release, we reset. Nature and mind share the same design. Energy accumulates, tension builds, and then it finds release. Afterward comes clarity, freshness, stillness. The ancients often spoke of temperament as weather. A calm person was called serene, a quick temper was called stormy. Deep thinkers were said to live beneath cloudy skies. They understood something modern language often forgets, that our moods are not fixed, but meteorological. They pass, shift, evolve, and, if left to flow, always find calm again. When you notice the wind outside or the rain against the window, try to feel the kinship. The same molecules that shape the weather also move through you. Every atom of air you breathe has been part of countless storms and calm skies before. The line between atmosphere and self is only perspective. The earth breathed through you. Your emotions echo its rhythm. Just as no storm lasts forever, no feeling does either. Clouds part, pressure evens, warmth returns. The weather teaches patience, that turbulence is temporary, that renewal follows release. And maybe that's why a clear morning after rain feels so peaceful. The sky, like the heart, has found its balance again. So the next time the world seems unsettled, above you or within you, remember this parallel. The sky is not broken when it storms, it's simply returning to harmony. And so are you. Long before satellites and supercomputers, people read the sky like a language. They watch the shapes of clouds, the colour of sunsets, the flight of birds and the scent of the air. A red horizon at dusk, a halo around the moon, the sudden stillness before rain. Each was a clue, a whisper from the atmosphere about what was coming next. Weather prediction began not in laboratories, but in observation and memory, in the patient attention of those who live close to the land. Today, the same curiosity continues, but with new tools. High above the Earth, satellites orbit endlessly, watching the swirl of clouds across oceans, measuring temperature, humidity, and wind. On the ground, instruments track pressure changes so subtle the human body could never notice them. These signals, gathered from every corner of the world, feed into vast models, equations that attempt to simulate the breathing of the planet. The goal is not to control the weather, but to understand its rhythm well enough to anticipate its next note. Even with all our technology, forecasting remains a form of humility. The atmosphere is a chaotic system, sensitive to the smallest change. A shift in wind speed, a slight temperature difference, can ripple outward to alter an entire storm's path. Meteorologists speak of probabilities, not certainties, because they know that prediction is like reading music as it's being written. The melody is never finished. It is always being composed. There is something poetic in that uncertainty. Despite data and sensors, we still look to the horizon and wonder. We still listen for rain in the silence. The science of prediction, for all its precision, keeps us connected to mystery. It reminds us that the sky cannot be owned or fully known, only studied, respected, and watched with patience. When you open a weather app, the numbers you see, wind speed, humidity, chance of rain, are the sum of millions of observations, all distilled into a single forecast. But behind those numbers lies something more intimate, the same timeless curiosity that made our ancestors tilt their faces to the wind and guess at the sky's mood. Perhaps that's why prediction feels comforting, even when imperfect. It's a way of listening to the earth, of saying, I'm paying attention. We predict not to control nature, but to belong to it, to mark our days by its breath, to prepare for its moods, to live in rhythm rather than surprise. And sometimes, the most beautiful moments come when the forecast is wrong, when rain arrives early, or the clouds part unexpectedly. In those moments, we're reminded that the atmosphere is still free, still improvising, still alive. The sky may allow us to read its signs, but it never stops teaching us to wonder. At first glance, the weather seems unpredictable, a sky of constant surprises. Sunlight 1 hour, rain the next, calm morning, stormy night. Yet beneath that apparent randomness lies deep order, a pattern so intricate that even chaos itself obeys it. The atmosphere is a perfect paradox, infinite variability bound by simple laws. This truth was captured by the butterfly effect, a term coined by meteorologist Edward Lorenz. While studying weather equations, he discovered that the smallest change in his data, rounding a number by a fraction, produced an entirely different forecast. A flap of a butterfly's wings in Brazil, he said, might one day set off a tornado in Texas. The statement wasn't literal, but symbolic. The atmosphere is so sensitive, so connected, that no event is ever isolated. Every molecule of air participates in the grand choreography. This is chaos theory, not disorder, but complexity that appears random because our eyes cannot yet see all its variables. Weather is a living example of this. It's why long-term forecasts remain uncertain, why the future of clouds can never be perfectly mapped. Yet, despite this unpredictability, the sky never breaks its rules. The same physics applies everywhere. Temperature, pressure, moisture, motion. The dance is endless, but its steps are constant. When we watch clouds twist and stretch, or lightning flicker between them, we are witnessing equations in motion, math translated into movement. The turbulence of a storm may look wild, but it's a manifestation of balance being restored, energy-seeking rest. Every gust, every spiral, every drop follows logic, even when we cannot follow it ourselves. This delicate balance between chaos and order mirrors life in subtle ways. A moment of confusion may later reveal a pattern. A random encounter may shift everything. Like weather, our own stories move between predictability and surprise. And just as storms are necessary to equalize the air, disruption in life often clears the way for calm. Scientists can simulate chaos on computers, but to truly understand it, one must look up, to the sky where mathematics becomes art. The boundary of a cloud, the curve of a wave in the upper atmosphere, the swirl of a hurricane's spiral arm. These are nature's equations written in motion. Perhaps that's why watching the sky can be so hypnotic. Somewhere inside, we recognize that its unpredictability is not disorder, but depth. A living system too vast to fully predict, too beautiful to want to. In every streak of lightning, every curl of mist, there is the quiet truth that chaos and harmony are not opposites. They are partners, inseparable, forever shaping the same endless flow. Every cloud that drifts across the sky carries equations within it, invisible mathematics expressed as motion and light. The laws that govern its shape are precise. Temperature, humidity, pressure, and motion intertwined in 1,000 variables. Yet the result is art. No formula can fully predict where a single wisp will go, or when one edge will dissolve. The mathematics of clouds is exact, but its expression is poetry. Inside each cloud, billions of droplets dance through air currents, rising, falling, colliding, evaporating, condensing again. Each one obeys physics perfectly, and yet the collective behavior becomes unpredictable. Scientists call this turbulence, a state so complex that even the most advanced computers struggle to model it. The flow of air becomes fractal, patterns repeating within patterns, endlessly detailed. From a satellite's view, a thunderhead resembles a galaxy. From an airplane window, it looks like a mountain range sculpted from light. Nature echoes itself across scales. Clouds are the sky's mathematics made visible, fractals unfolding in slow motion. Their edges curl and billow according to equations of fluid dynamics. But those equations produce beauty beyond calculation. They remind us that perfection does not mean symmetry. It means balance found through change. A cloud is never finished. It is a process, not a product. Even in science, clouds remain one of the greatest challenges. We can measure galaxies billions of light years away more easily than we can predict how vapor will gather in a single storm. That's the irony of the atmosphere. The closer we are to it, the more intricate it becomes. But perhaps that's what makes it comforting. It resists being fully known. It keeps mystery alive in a world of measurements. The shape of a cloud reveals the invisible architecture of the wind. Flat layers tell of stable air. Towering anvils reveal rising thermals. When you look up, you're seeing the math of motion drawn in water and sunlight. The soft edges you admire are boundaries between energy states shifting faster than the eye can follow. And when the light changes, pink at dusk, gold at dawn, silver under moonlight, it's the same equation expressed in colour instead of form. To study clouds is to study flow itself, the universal principle that defines both matter and mind. Equations may explain how, but not why we find them beautiful. The answer lies in the way they make us feel, humbled, curious, still. Looking at them, you sense that the universe is not chaos after all, but movement arranged with infinite care. The next time you watch a cloud drift by, imagine it as a living calculation, solving itself in real time. Every curl, every glow, every fading edge is the atmosphere balancing its energy, perfectly, silently, and without end. Long before science gave names to clouds or instruments measured wind, humans lifted their eyes to the sky and began to wonder. The atmosphere was our first teacher, our first mystery. Farmers, sailors, and travellers learned to read it not through data, but through attention, noticing colour, scent, and pattern. The sky was both map and message, speaking a language of light and motion that shaped every culture beneath it. Ancient Egyptians watched the horizon to predict the flooding of the Nile. Polynesian navigators read subtle shifts in cloud, shape, and ocean swell to steer across thousands of miles of open sea. In China, scholars recorded halos around the moon, and the moods of wind centuries before thermometers existed. In Japan, poets compared rain to longing. In Greece, philosophers sought the elements that composed the heavens. Everywhere, people looked up and saw both science and spirit, a mirror of the world's balance reflected above. For many early civilizations, the weather was divine communication. Storms were voices of gods, lightning their gestures, rain their mercy. The heavens ruled not only harvests, but moods, rituals, and fate. And even as our understanding grew, through barometers, through satellites, something of that reverence remained. Knowledge did not erase wonder, it deepened it. In the 17th century, the invention of the thermometer and barometer gave form to invisible forces. For the first time, humans could measure the sky's breadth. Later came the discovery of jet streams, the study of trade winds, the naming of the cirrus and cumulus. Every new insight was another way of listening, another layer of understanding. But at the heart of all these advances was the same impulse that guided ancient eyes: curiosity. Today, we watch the sky differently, through screens, through forecasts, through orbiting instruments that see in wavelengths our eyes cannot. Yet the essence is unchanged. We still pause when sunlight breaks through rain, still marvel when snow falls soundlessly, still watch clouds drift as if they were thoughts. The act of looking up connects us to everyone who has ever done the same, a lineage of wonder stretching back to the first humans who understood that the sky was alive. In every age, the weather has taught us humility. It reminds us that we live within a system, not above it, that we can predict, prepare, and adapt, but never command. The same winds that carried ancient ships now turn modern turbines. The same rain that fed early fields still nourishes ours. So when you look up tonight, know that you're participating in a ritual older than history. You're watching what our ancestors watched, the great moving skin of the planet glowing softly in moonlight, shifting quietly above your life. The same sky, the same flow, the same eternal invitation to wonder. If the sky mirrors our emotions, then perhaps our bodies mirror the sky. Inside us, temperature, rhythm, and flow change moment by moment. An atmosphere contained within skin. The same physics that moves wind and rain also moves blood and breath. The weather outside is vast, but its pattern repeats within. Circulation, balance, pressure, release. When you breathe in, you draw the world's air into your lungs, molecules that once floated over forests, deserts, and oceans. They mix with oxygen carried by red cells through the quiet rivers of your veins. Each heartbeat is a pulse of energy, not unlike a small convection current, sending warmth outward, bringing coolness back in. The same thermodynamics that create clouds govern your own balance. Too warm and you sweat, too cold and you shiver. Your body, like the earth, regulates itself through movement. Our minds, too, are weather systems. Thoughts gather like clouds, some heavy, some light. Emotions rise, cool, and condense into words or tears. Then they dissipate, replaced by calm. It's a cycle as natural as rainfall. When you feel unsettled, it's the low pressure before a change. When peace returns, it's the clearing sky. The brain is electric like lightning, fluid like wind, rhythmic like the tides. Scientists have found that the atmosphere even affects our mood directly. Drops in pressure can make us drowsy. Sunlight can lift the mind. Humidity slows us, urging stillness. Our inner chemistry listens to the outer world, responding, adapting, aligning. We're not separate from weather, we're extensions of it. Every breath, every heartbeat, every small shiver is part of the planet's continuous conversation. Ancient medicine understood this. The Chinese spoke of qi, energy flowing through the body like wind through valleys. The Greeks called it pneuma, the breath of life. In both views, health was harmony, the steady movement of inner weather. Modern science gives new names: circulation, homeostasis. But the principle is unchanged. Stillness within comes from flow, not stagnation. Sometimes you can feel it most clearly when you're still. Sit quietly, close your eyes and listen. There's a faint hum in your chest, a rhythm in your breath, warmth against the cool air. That is your personal atmosphere, the inner echo of the planet's motion. Your weather contained, a microcosm of sky and storm and calm. So when you look outward, at drifting clouds, at falling rain, know that the same balance moves inside you. The air you breathe has circled the globe countless times. The water in your blood once fell as rain thousands of years ago. You are part of the great circulation, a participant in Earth's endless exhale. And in that realization, peace arrives, not as stillness, but as harmony. You don't need to escape the world to feel calm. You only need to recognize that the world and you have always been breathing together. Beyond the passing moods of weather lies something slower, deeper: climate. If weather is the breath of the planet, then climate is its heartbeat over ages. It doesn't change with days or seasons, but with centuries. Mountains rise, oceans shift, sunlight tilts just slightly, and the atmosphere adjusts its rhythm. This meeting of climate and time is the long story beneath every cloud you see. Each layer of ice, each ring of a tree, holds a record of those rhythms. Scientists drill deep into glaciers and find bubbles of ancient air, tiny, perfect time capsules from thousands of years ago. Within them, they read the carbon and oxygen ratios, the fingerprints of warmth and cold. They can tell when forests spread and when deserts grew, when volcanoes darkened the sky, when sunlight weakened and ice returned. The planet keeps its diary quietly, written not in words but in chemistry. Over millions of years, Earth has cycled through warmth and cold, expansion and retreat. Ice ages have come and gone, oceans have risen and fallen. Through it all, life adapted, reshaped, endured. Every climate shift rewrote the map of existence. Yet the rhythm persisted. The atmosphere never stopped breathing. It only changed tempo. Today, that tempo quickens. Human hands now influence the balance, the gases we release, the forests we cut, the energy we use. We are no longer just listeners to the sky. We have become participants in its composition. But this isn't a story of blame. It's one of awareness. Knowing our influence gives us the power to restore harmony. The same curiosity that once looked upward to predict rain can now look inward to predict consequence. In the grand scale of Earth's history, we're a brief moment, yet a significant one. The choices we make ripple outward through time, altering currents, patterns, and futures we will never see. But the planet is resilient. It seeks balance as it always has. Winds adjust, oceans absorb, life adapts. Our task is simply to listen and move with that rhythm, not against it. Imagine the future skies 1,000 years from now. Will they shimmer with the same balance of blue and gold? Will the rains fall with the same patience, the seasons turn with the same grace? These questions are not just scientific, they are poetic. To care for the climate is to care for time itself, for the continuity of motion that allows life to persist. When climate meets time, we see that everything flows on scales beyond imagination. We are shaped by forces older than memory and yet capable of shaping them in return. The atmosphere that holds us tonight is the inheritance of all who came before, and the gift we pass to those who will follow. Look at the sky now. Its calmness is not stillness, but balance achieved through ages of motion. The wind you feel has blown through 1,000,000 years, carrying whispers of glaciers, forests, fires and dawns. It asks for only one thing in return: awareness. To live gently within its flow, to remember that even time obeys the rhythm of breath. The sky we look at tonight is the same one our ancestors watched, yet not entirely the same. It has changed, subtly, invisibly, responding to the warmth we release, the forests we alter, the oceans we touch. The atmosphere is alive, responsive, delicate. It listens to us, just as we listen to it. Every action, every breath of industry or conservation joins the global conversation of air. We often think of weather as something that happens to us, but in truth, we are participants in it. The gases we emit, the heat we generate, the land we reshape, all ripple upward into the sky, blending into the great flow of motion. The atmosphere holds no judgment, only response. Add warmth, and it circulates faster. Remove balance, and it searches for new equilibrium. The result is change. Winds shifting, rains wandering, seasons arriving earlier or later than memory expects. This era of climate change is not a story of punishment, but of connection. We are being reminded that everything we do returns to us through the sky. The rain that falls tomorrow carries traces of today's air. The air you breathe tonight carries the history of fires, oceans and cities far away. There is no true separation between human and nature, only flow, always flow. And within that realization lies hope. The same hands that influence can also restore. Every act of care, planting, conserving, rethinking how we live, becomes part of the planet's healing. The Earth does not need perfection, it needs participation. The atmosphere responds to balance, not to guilt. It follows the laws of energy. What is given returns. What is restored stabilizes. Technology, too, has become a new form of harmony. Solar panels mimic the leaves that first learned to turn sunlight into energy. Wind turbines echo the motion of the air they ride. Even our understanding of weather, through satellites, sensors and models, allows us to act not out of fear, but foresight. We are learning to live in rhythm again, to see that progress and peace can share the same current. Stand outside on a clear night and look upward. The sky is vast, but it is not distant. It moves through you with every breath. You're shaping its future, just as it has shaped your past. The wind that cools your skin is not ancient air. It is living air, renewed, recirculated, waiting for your respect. If you ever feel small against the scale of the planet, remember this: small things move great systems. A seed becomes a forest, a breeze becomes a storm, a single choice becomes a turning point in time. The future of weather, of climate, of balance is not a distant concept. It is unfolding now in every breath we share. So breathe gently, act kindly, let awareness replace urgency, and gratitude replace fear. The sky will listen. It always has. The future we shape is written not in force but in flow. The same flow that has carried clouds, light and life for 4 billion years. The atmosphere remembers everything, every eruption, every forest burned, every tide of pollen or ash. All leave traces that linger. The sky is not a blank canvas wiped clean each day, but a layered memory of the planet's breath. Within its currents move stories of mountains forming, oceans shifting, civilizations rising and fading. The air that fills your lungs tonight carries molecules exhaled by ancient forests, by animals long extinct, by people whose names are lost to time. When a volcano erupts, dust and sulfur scatter high into the stratosphere, reflecting sunlight and cooling the world for years. Ice cores drilled from Antarctica record those moments as thin, dark bands, frozen signatures of distant fire. When vast forests grow, they draw carbon from the air. When they burn, they release it again. Even lightning leaves a mark, splitting nitrogen molecules and returning them to the soil as nourishment. Every motion of weather alters the story slightly, but the story never ends. The sky also remembers light. Solar cycles wax and wane, shifting the balance of warmth across decades. Sunspots bloom and fade, subtle rhythms that echo through the winds. When meteors streak through the atmosphere, they deposit dust that drifts for years, joining the endless dance of particles that scatter dawn and sunset into colour. The pinks and golds of evening are not random. They are history refracted, memory made visible. Scientists studying these patterns call them feedbacks, cycles, oscillations. But they are also forms of memory, the way nature keeps track of cause and effect. Nothing in the atmosphere truly disappears, it only transforms. A carbon atom in your breath may one day feed a leaf, then drift upward as vapour, then crystallise as snow at the pole. In the grand continuity of air, everything is recorded by motion. And memory isn't only chemical, it's emotional. When you smell rain on dry ground, when you see the first snowfall, when thunder rolls far away, something deep within you recognises it. These sensations awaken inherited recollections, reminders that our species has listened to the sky for millennia. The weather carries nostalgia, not just for seasons past, but for the ancient connection between Earth and life. Sometimes, at sunset, the horizon glows with a faint haze from fires thousands of miles away. The light is dimmed but also deepened, the air tinted with remembrance. The sky does not forget, it simply transforms memory into beauty. In that glow, destruction becomes colour, and colour becomes calm. So when you look upward, know that the atmosphere above you is not empty. It's a vast library of movement, energy and time, the living archive of the planet. Every breeze that brushes your face carries history. Every cloud you watch is a page turning. And you, in breathing, are part of that record. Another note in the sky's long, unbroken memory. Everything in the sky moves, slowly, gracefully, without end. The same air that once touched ancient oceans now drifts across cities, mountains, and your skin. The molecules in your breath may have risen from volcanic steam, circled the globe 1,000 times and returned to you tonight. Nothing in the atmosphere is lost, it only transforms. The sky is not an expanse of emptiness, but a river without banks, the eternal flow of Earth's breath. Watch how it all connects. Heat rises, cools, condenses into clouds, falls as rain, and evaporates again. Air moves from high to low pressure, balancing itself like water finding its level. Even the most violent storm is part of that same calm purpose, motion, restoring equilibrium. The system is infinite, yet simple. Everything seeks balance. Everything flows. When sunlight enters the atmosphere, it scatters into colour. Blue in day, crimson at dusk, silver by moonlight. Each shift of hue is just light finding its way through different layers of air. The wind that turns the leaves in your garden is linked to jet streams thousands of kilometres away. The rain that cools your window may have begun as vapour from another continent. In this circulation, the planet breathes as one living body, every movement in harmony with another. If you could see the atmosphere from space, it would look like a luminous shell, thin and fragile, wrapped in slow motion around the Earth. Swirls of white, ribbons of blue, pulses of light, the image of perpetual motion, delicate and alive. And within that shell all of life unfolds, forests exhaling, oceans shimmering, storms forming and fading. The atmosphere is not merely above us, it is within us, shared through every inhale, every gust, every passing cloud. There's comfort in knowing that the same air binds all beings together. The breath you take now will someday drift into someone else's lungs, across oceans through time. Every sigh, every whisper, every breeze contributes to the same infinite cycle. We are all quite literally sharing breath with the world. And perhaps that is the lesson hidden in weather's flow. Nothing stands still, and that's what allows everything to endure. Change is not an interruption. It is the method of continuity. Stillness is born from movement, peace from circulation. So as you listen now to the faint hum of wind, to your own quiet breathing, imagine that you are part of the atmosphere's endless current. You are the calm inside the motion inside the calm. The sky flows through you, and you through it, in an exchange that has no beginning and no end. Everything flows, always has, always will. As night deepens, the world grows still. The air outside cools, slowing its invisible currents. Somewhere far away, winds are moving across oceans and deserts, but here the atmosphere rests. You can feel it in your own breath, slower now, quieter, matching the sky's rhythm. The day's energy has dispersed, balanced again through motion and release. This is the weather's gentlest hour, the calm between what was and what will be. When we sleep, we mirror the atmosphere's rest. Just as storms exhaust their energy and fade, so do our thoughts. The mind, like the sky, clears itself in cycles, tension lifting, emotion settling, memory drifting like cloud and mist. In this stillness, body and planet share the same goal: restoration. Outside, the air continues its silent work. Dew begins to form, a delicate condensation of breath between earth and sky. Each droplet on the grass is a whisper of reunion, water returning to its home. The night air grows heavy with moisture, yet peaceful in its balance. The world exhales. Sometimes, when everything is quiet, you can almost sense the planet's heartbeat, the slow exchange of energy, the pulse of wind moving over land, the steady hum of equilibrium. You belong to that rhythm. Your breath, your warmth, your heartbeat, all part of the same cosmic flow. You're not separate from the weather. You're a small, gentle storm that has learned to rest. The ancients called this hour sacred, when the air itself seems to fold around the earth like a blanket. The sky darkens not to conceal, but to comfort. The stars appear, scattered across space like distant embers, and even they seem to drift more slowly now. Time softens, sound fades, and only one current remains: the flow of breath within and around you. Let yourself drift with it. The atmosphere does not stop when you sleep. It carries you along gently, faithfully, like a tide. The same motion that moves the clouds now moves your dreams. The calm before sleep is not absence. It is the soft continuation of everything that has ever been in motion, slow just enough to let you rest inside it. The world outside hums quietly, leaves barely stirring, air cooling against stone. Above you, the night sky breathes. Below you, the ground holds that breath in silence. And you, between the two, are exactly where you belong, suspended in the stillness of the earth's great exhale. Sleep is not separate from the sky, it is its reflection. Now the journey returns to stillness, to the gentle truth that has moved beneath every cloud, every drop, every breath of wind. Nothing stands apart. Air, water, light, and time are one continuous motion, circling endlessly through the world, from vapour to rain, from breath to breeze, from warmth to calm. All is part of the same eternal rhythm. The weather never truly begins or ends, it transforms. The same molecules that once formed ancient storms now drift quietly above you tonight. The wind that touches your face may have brushed the surface of another world long ago. The sea, the ice, a forest now forgotten. Through that shared motion we are connected not only to the earth, but to everything that has ever been. Even within silence the flow continues. The air around you moves softly, balancing itself. Your body responds without effort, lungs rising and falling, heart pulsing, warmth exchanging with the night. You are breathing in rhythm with the planet. You are part of its pattern. If you listen closely, you can feel it. The quiet hum beneath sound, the invisible tide of air pressing gently against skin. It's the same pulse that turns storms into calm, that builds clouds and dissolves them again. It's the voice of balance, patient, ancient, kind. In that awareness, the mind softens, thoughts slow to match the rhythm of air, the line between inside and outside fades. You're no longer beneath the sky, you're within it, floating like vapour, timeless and weightless. And as you drift towards sleep, remember, the sky is never still. Even now the atmosphere turns, clouds form, and distant rains fall over lands you will never see. The world is always breathing, always balancing, always alive. Let that truth cradle you. Let it dissolve the edges of thought until all that remains is motion, gentle, eternal, serene. Everything flows, sleep in that motion.